What's up guys, it's the Cheapster here, back with another video, and today I'm going to give you guys my honest review of what it's been like delivering and being a delivery driver for DoorDash. So as you know, there's so many different companies out there that you could work for, and all of them have a lot of differences compared to each other, and no matter what company you work for, you're always going to find that there's some give and take, some things that are good and some things that are bad, and that's definitely the case with DoorDash. There's definitely some things that I really like about them, and then there's definitely some things I really don't like about them. So this review is mostly just going to be coming from my opinion and my view of what I've seen working for them, and most of it depends on the app itself, but you may have different opinions based on things that you've seen in your area. Keep in mind that all regions are different, and for some areas it might be really good, and other areas it might be really bad. And also, before I start the review, I do want to say if you guys want to sign up for DoorDash to work for them, you can use my referral link down below in the description. And if you want to get cash back on gas at the pump with Get Upside, which is honestly just free money, especially as a delivery driver, or if you want to sign up for Hurdler, which is what I think is the best free mileage tracking app, and it also helps you plan for your taxes, you can check the link down below for my referral codes for all those. So first off, let's get into a quick overview of DoorDash itself. It probably doesn't come as a surprise to you that DoorDash has quickly been taking over the US market for food delivery. More and more I keep hearing people use DoorDash as the noun for getting food delivered, like people saying, oh, I'm gonna go DoorDash some McDonald's. So no matter which company you like the best, DoorDash is probably worth a try to work for. And the basics of DoorDash are pretty much all the same as just the others, because let's be honest, all of these pretty much come down to the same thing. You're just gonna drive to a restaurant to pick up the order and then drive to the customer to drop it off. But the biggest questions from there are obviously how much can you make with the app, how flexible is it, and how many issues are you actually going to have to deal with using it. And those issues are what can definitely make or break a delivery app. So let's get into the pros and the cons of working for DoorDash, and then I'll get into my personal opinion of how I felt working for them. So starting with the pros, the first pro is that they obviously have a very large market share, like I said, and that means that DoorDash is usually going to be more available to be worked in more areas. There's usually going to be more orders, and you can kind of have some more confidence knowing that DoorDash will probably stay around in the future. Another benefit there is that many companies use DoorDash because they're so big. So there's a lot of different restaurants that partner with them. Also, I would say that the app is built out pretty well. There's not too many bugs from what I've experienced so far, and things are fairly streamlined and not very confusing. Also, as far as I can tell, it looks like DoorDash is technically open 24 hours in most areas, but that actually depends on if restaurants are obviously open and available to give you orders. So you might not be able to work 24 hours, but technically I think the clock rolls around 24 hours. But as a normal dasher, you might not be able to go available to dash at night because there might just not be anything open. Also, a pro about that is usually during the normal times of the day, you can pretty much dash whenever you want, at least from what I've seen. That won't be the case in every area, but from what I've seen, I can usually get on whenever I want to dash. But if you need to in your area, you can also schedule dashes. Another pro is that there's usually a startup promo to guarantee earnings once you first start as a DoorDash driver, and if you use my referral link down below in the description, you can actually get that promo too. I don't know what it is for each person because it changes based on what city you work in, but I think that's a good pro because it's a good way to get started without the stress of knowing if you're taking good orders or not, and you'll get time to learn what orders are good and what aren't. Another really good pro about DoorDash is that there's no requirement for acceptance rate. Kinda. There is requirements if you want to be a top dasher, which means you can dash whenever you want. You don't have to wait for the available times, and there's some other perks to that, but I think most people just are normal dashers anyway. And I have heard speculation that if your acceptance rate drops low enough that they can kick you off the platform, but mine's been very low for a while and I've never been removed. There were even times when my acceptance rate was like 5%, so if I haven't been removed, I think you're probably good. But again, if that is happening, maybe that depends on cities, if they're too full or what they're doing with that. I don't know. But from what I've seen, there's no requirement for an acceptance rate, and I really like that about DoorDash. Another pro is that when you get offered something, they show you the pickup and the delivery location, and they show you the mileage between the two. That's a pretty big one, and I don't know how you could ever work for a company that doesn't show you where the pickup and the drop off is. And another big one there is that they show you the price that the order is offering before you accept it. Kinda. Yeah, I know, another kinda, but there is like a price cap here that they'll show you, but I'll get into that when I get down to the cons. Another pro is that orders come in really quickly. I think it's something like 10 seconds that each order can come in back to back. And that's pretty huge because with an app like Grubhub that I also work for, I think it takes about a minute for the next order to come in if you've rejected one. And if you get a bad string of orders that you have to reject, that can waste 5 to 10 minutes or so. So with DoorDash, you don't have to wait around once you get bad orders and reject them. Usually you'll get something pretty good within a minute. Another benefit is that DoorDash offers peak pay during peak times. And in my area, that's either like $1 extra, $2 extra, or $3 extra. And a lot of times in my area, it is the $3 extra. And that really makes pretty much most orders good to take. And another really good thing about DoorDash is that they're usually very good with their logistics of pickup times. It's not always the case, but from what what I've seen, I usually don't have to wait very long, or I don't have to wait at all to pick up an order. They're usually ready right when I get there. Also, another thing with this is that DoorDash is very good at sending multiple orders at once. I would say of all the apps I've tried, they're definitely the best at their logistics. Rarely am I ever just doing one DoorDash order at a time. A lot of times I'm picking up 2 orders from one restaurant and then delivering to 2 different houses. And this is really great because it makes sure that your time is being used efficiently, and that's really important to be able to make the most money you can and to be able to spend less on gas, even though you should already have Get Upside installed and be saving on gas anyway. Another benefit with DoorDash is that you can cash out instantly if you want. You do have to pay a small fee, but it's nice that they have that option. If you don't cash out instantly, then you just get paid once a week. There's also a pretty clear pay structure. It's not very confusing to understand why you got paid what you did. Another thing that I really like about DoorDash is that if an order is canceled and it's not something that had to do with you, then you get half of the pay. And this seems to happen a lot with me working late, that I'll get sent to closed restaurants, but I never really care because I get half of the pay, so it's always worth it anyway. And to me, that seems fair, and I really do like that about DoorDash. I think DoorDash is the best company with dealing with those canceled orders. And the last pro that I would mention about DoorDash is that you could practically work in any city once you're approved. I don't know if it's the case for California because there's some stuff going on there that's changed, but for the most part, if you were approved to work DoorDash in one city, you can go to another city and work it. You can even work out of state if you want, although that might make your taxes a little bit confusing. But that's a really nice benefit because maybe you're a student in school for most of the year and then you come home on your summers. And if both those cities have DoorDash in them, you can work DoorDash in both places. Alright, so I really would say there are a lot of pros working for DoorDash, but now let's get into the cons of working for DoorDash. So one big con that I mentioned before is that DoorDash likes to play this pricing game of price capping. It's obviously a thing to get you to take lower orders than you might want because you're hoping there could be more money on top of that. And the way they do this is by capping things. So in my area, the cap here is pretty much $7.50. So if somebody tipped a lot and the order is actually $11, it'll only come to me as $7.50 and says that that's the minimum. So the way I see it is $7.50, but it could be more than that. I just don't know. So then you're kind of taking a gamble to say, is it going to be more or is this all I'm going to get paid? And that is if the order is $7.50 or higher, because it could be something like $4. Then you'll see it's $4. So yeah, it's basically just when you see that $7.50 or whatever it is in your area, you have to guess, is it actually going to be $7.50 or could it be more than that? And keep in mind, this does change with peak pay. So if there's like a $3 peak pay running, then it would be $10.50. So that's something I don't like about DoorDash, and I think they don't have the transparency that something like Grubhub does. But I will say, after doing this for a while and kind of learning how to play that game, it does get better over time. Another con is that pay can be pretty low without peak pay. If I try to work when there's not peak pay running, I definitely see a lot of these $4, $3 orders all the time. And you pretty much know at that point that you're not going to get a tip on those and it'll just be $4. So I will say it has been hard to make good money at it if they don't have peak pay actually running, especially because of the whole price cap thing that they do. Because betting on a $10.50 order and hoping it could be more, if it's not, you still get $10.50. But if there's no peak pay and it's down to $7.50, it could be less than you want to do. Another con, and this is a little bit confusing, but if you accept peak pay in one section of your city and another section doesn't have peak pay running, if you ever go down to the section that doesn't have peak pay running, you'll stop receiving orders. And that could be even if they've sent you from the order that did have peak pay down to the one that didn't for an order, you still won't get orders until you get back to that area. That's at least what I've seen, and I don't really like that because then you have to spend all that time driving back without getting orders. Another con that's not actually too bad based on what they do for it, but I seem to get sent to closed restaurants a lot. Now I will say that's usually because I'm working late, but sometimes this happens quite a lot. And thank goodness I get paid half the money, or else this would be a really frustrating thing. Another thing is that they do have a rating system where the customers get to rate you, so that can be a little bit annoying. And if your ratings get too low, you can be at risk for getting deactivated. But I would say it's usually fine, and I haven't had too much trouble with it, except for my first order I ever did. For some reason, the first order I ever did, the person gave me a 1 star, and I have no idea why. To this day, even after working DoorDash and thinking back to all the stuff I did, I don't think I did anything wrong. So I don't know if that situation was just because the order had been like kicked around in the system for a long time, and then finally I got it and delivered it to them. So I don't know if they blamed me for it being so late and that's why they gave me a 1 star. But that was really annoying because I really had to work hard to build back up to get out of the deactivation zone. Because honestly, a lot of people don't rate you anyway. So that can definitely be a downside dealing with that with DoorDash, just because customers can be so finicky. Another downside that's actually pretty important for me, because I like to work DoorDash at nights, is that usually late night orders are going to be drive-thrus and the lines are really long. But this isn't something that's just specific to DoorDash only. Most most companies you're going to run into this. Another con that I really did not like about DoorDash either starting out, which I don't know if they've actually gotten rid of it now, but it's that sometimes they'll actually make you check the entire order to make sure every item is there. And as you know right now, that just really doesn't work well because people don't want you going through their stuff. Not to mention a lot of bags are sealed with stickers on them so you can't look at it anyway. I have seen this less and less, and I think maybe DoorDash is getting rid of that altogether so you don't have to check the order. Another downside to DoorDash is that it's not always busy enough to actually go active in Dash, and that's different than something like Grubhub where you can just go active at any time whether you have a schedule or not. Sometimes with DoorDash, if they're not busy, you can't even click the Dash Now button. And I will say this is a problem I ran into a lot more when I was working it like 2 years ago. There were times that I was ready to work even like during dinner times and I couldn't even work. But now I don't know if it's because my city is just more established or what, but I can pretty much dash whenever. But that could be something you run into more. Maybe your area is not as established as much and you might not be able to dash right when you want to. And the last con that should not come as a surprise to anybody because pretty much every app is like this. The customer service can be really bad to deal with and it's really difficult if you need to get something resolved. Now I will say they're not the worst company, but they're pretty bad. Things are just very slow, especially when you're in the middle of an order and you have to talk to them about stuff. You could be sitting there waiting for 5 to 10 minutes just to get it fixed. So the hope is that you just really never need to talk to customer service, but inevitably things will come up. And that's pretty much it for what I would say are the cons for working for DoorDash. I really think for the most part that DoorDash definitely has a lot more pros working for them than cons. That made it sound like I was saying there's professionals instead of con artists, which is probably true. There's probably more pros than there are cons working for them. Also with DoorDash, I would say you can definitely make some good money with them if your area is good and you know how to play the system well. It definitely takes a lot of practice knowing what orders you should take and what orders you shouldn't. Even though I had been working Grubhub for years, there was still a learning curve that I had to deal with. But overall, I would say I'm definitely pretty positive with it and you can definitely make good money if your area is good. Now, there still are some issues with it though, like I said, like low pay during times where they don't have peak pay or the games that they play with the price capping. And honestly, for years, I was pretty against DoorDash because I just didn't like some of the things they did and some of the stuff about the app. And recently, I've been starting to work more with them and I've been able to make pretty good money once I learned how to do things well. So I would definitely recommend it as a company you could probably work for to make good money, or at the least, it can be an addition to another company that you already work for and deliver for. But as always, I always recommend that you try it in your area because you never know what it's going to be like area to area. And if you do try it, don't forget to use my referral link down below in the description to sign up so that you can get that promo for guaranteed earnings if your area is offering that. Also, don't forget if you want to save money on gas and track your miles and taxes for free, make sure to sign up for Get Upside and Hurdler with my link in the description. Those are two apps that I really love and I can't talk about those enough. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this review was helpful. I definitely have a pretty positive outlook on it, even though there is some cons to it. But I think for the most part, DoorDash is definitely a good way to make some extra money for you. But thank you guys. If you guys liked the video, remember to do the cheapest thing you can today. Tap that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to watch more videos on delivery driving or saving money. And I will see you guys in the next video. And remember, stay cheap.
That's cheap. You still haven't subscribed? Oh my god, come on, what are you waiting